Captain Alice Gardner stood on the bridge of the Starlight Venture and looked at the massive alien space station through the main view screen. The Zethrian structure shimmered with a bluish glow, its spiral arms extending outward like a sea creature, frozen in space. After 3 years of traveling through the darkness between stars, they had finally arrived. "Impressive, isn't it?" said Ambassador Frank Porter, who had joined her on the bridge. His diplomatic uniform was perfectly pressed, not a wrinkle in sight. The first human delegation to meet the Zethrian Empire. Alice nodded. "Let's hope they're as friendly as their messages suggested." She tugged at the collar of her captain's uniform, trying not to show her nervousness. The radio crackled. "Human vessel Starlight Venture, you are cleared to dock at Port 7. Follow the guidance beams." Alice gave the order to her pilot, and the ship eased forward. The crew had trained for this moment, but nothing could fully prepare them for first contact with an advanced alien civilization, especially not a mission that included families and children. In the ship's common area, Jack Miller tried to calm his excited children. "Sam, Lily, please settle down. Remember what we talked about." 14-year-old Sam rolled his eyes. "Dad, we know. Best behavior. Represent humanity. Don't touch anything without permission." 10-year-old Lily bounced on her toes. "But we're going to meet real aliens. Do you think they'll be scary?" "The Zethrians sent pictures, honey," said Karen Miller, straightening Lily's collar. "They look a bit like tall humans with shiny skin. Nothing to be afraid of." Jack looked at his wife with a mix of excitement and worry. When they had volunteered to join the mission as cultural representatives, bringing their children had been a controversial decision. The Earth Interstellar Council had eventually agreed that showing the full spectrum of humanity, including families, would help establish more meaningful relations with the aliens. Back on the bridge, Alice felt the slight bump as the ship connected with the docking port. "Connection secure, Captain," reported Lieutenant Dwayne Simmons, her security chief. "Atmosphere reads as compatible with our requirements." Alice took a deep breath. "This is it, everyone. Remember, we represent all of humanity today." Study. Minutes later, the human delegation stood in an airlock chamber at the entrance to the Zethrian station. 20 people had been chosen for this first meeting. Diplomats, scientists, cultural experts, and the Miller family. The inner door slid open to reveal a reception area where 5 Zethrians waited. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, with slender bodies and skin that shifted colors slightly as they moved like oil on water. Their faces had 2 large eyes with vertical pupils, small noses, and lipless mouths. The tallest Zethrian stepped forward. "Welcome to Eternal Vigilance Station. I am High Official Traz Corbin." The translation device at his throat converted his clicking speech into English. "We are pleased to establish formal relations with your species." Ambassador Porter bowed slightly. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we thank you for your welcome and look forward to friendship between our peoples." The formal introductions continued as each member of the human party was presented. The children waited quietly at first, but as the minutes dragged on, they grew restless. Lily whispered something to Sam, who tried not to laugh. One of the Zethrians, introduced as Security Director Vox Mallour, noticed the movement and tilted his head sharply. His skin flashed a deep purple before returning to its normal blue-green shade. He leaned over to another Zethrian and made a series of clicks that the translators didn't catch. When the introductions finished, Traz Corbin gestured toward a large doorway. "We have prepared a reception where we can begin our discussions more comfortably." The delegation moved into a spacious hall filled with strange plants and flowing water features. Several more Zethrians waited inside. Servers offered trays with small cups of a clear liquid that had been previously tested and approved safe for human consumption. Alice noticed the children looking around with wide eyes. Sam pointed discreetly at a sculpture that seemed to move, on its own, while Lily stared at a Zethrian whose skin was shifting through rainbow colors. "The young ones," said Vox Mallour suddenly, his translator making the words sound harsh. "They are... How do you maintain control?" Porter looked confused. "I'm sorry?" The immature specimens, Vox Millar clarified, pointing at the Miller children, and the other 3 human children in the delegation. How are they controlled without containment fields? Jack Miller stepped forward. Our children don't need to be controlled. They're well-behaved and educated. Vox Millar's skin darkened. Impossible. All species have dangerous development phases. It is universal biological law. Before anyone could respond further, 6 Zethrian guards entered the room and moved toward the children. Their skin pulsed with red patterns and they carried small devices in their hands. What's happening? Alice demanded, stepping between the guards and the children. Traz Corbin held up a hand. A simple precaution, Captain Gardner. Juvenile forms must be evaluated and contained during first contact. This is standard procedure. Standard procedure? Porter questioned. We weren't informed of this. It is assumed knowledge, replied Vox Millar. All spacefaring civilizations understand the dangers of immature neural development. The guards moved around Alice and approached the children. Sam stepped in front of his sister protectively. Stay away from us, he said, his voice cracking slightly. This is unnecessary, Jack protested as Karen pulled both children close. Vox Millar made a sharp gesture. The containment is non-negotiable for station safety. The examination will be brief and non-invasive. The guards surrounded the Miller children and the other 3 human children. One of them activated a device that created a faintly glowing field around the group. Stop this immediately, Alice ordered, her voice rising. Ambassador Porter, tell them this is unacceptable. Porter was already speaking rapidly to Traz Corbin, but the Zethrian seemed unmoved. It is for everyone's safety, Ambassador. Surely you understand we cannot risk unstable juveniles loose on the station. Lily began to cry as she was separated from her parents. Mom, Dad. It's okay. I'm right here, Sam told his sister, holding her hand tightly as the guards began to guide them toward another doorway. Alice stepped forward, her hand moving instinctively to where a weapon would be if they had been permitted to carry them. Lieutenant Simmons and 2 other security officers moved to flank her. Return those children to their parents now, Alice said, her voice dangerously quiet. This is not how first contact should proceed. Captain Gardner, Traz Corbin replied, his skin shifting to a deep blue. Please understand that we mean no disrespect. This is merely our standard safety protocol. As the children were led away, their parents trying to follow but blocked by more guards, Alice turned to Porter. Ambassador, get those children back, or this mission is over before it's begun. Porter's face was pale with shock and anger, but he maintained his diplomatic composure. High Official Traz Corbin, there has been a serious cultural misunderstanding. Human children are not dangerous and do not require containment. This action threatens our entire diplomatic mission. But the Zethrians were already escorting the crying children through a doorway at the far end of the hall. The last thing Alice saw was Sam Miller looking back, his face a mixture of fear and determination as he kept his arm around his sister's shoulders. You detained human children? Alice said, her voice rising with each word. Are you insane? Sam Miller kept his arm around his sister as the Zethrian guards led them through a series of gleaming hallways. Lily had stopped crying, but she still gripped his hand tightly. 3 other human children walked with them. Ben Wilson, age 12, and the twin 9-year-olds Olivia and Noah Parker. Where are they taking us? Lily whispered. I don't know, Sam replied quietly, but stay close to me. The hallway ended at a large circular room with white walls and strange equipment. It reminded Sam of pictures he'd seen of science labs, except everything had odd angles and pulsing lights. 5 small beds, or examination tables, were arranged, in a circle. A tall Zethrian with pale green skin approached them. Unlike the guards, whose skin showed red patterns, this one had swirls of yellow and blue. Please do not be alarmed, the alien said through a translator. I am lead scientist Zelthera. We simply need to evaluate your developmental status. We want to go back to our parents, Ben said, crossing his arms. Zelthera tilted her head. That is not possible until evaluation is complete. Please sit on the examination surfaces. The children looked at each other nervously. Sam knew they didn't have much choice with 4 guards watching them. He nodded to the others, and they each approached a table. "What kind of tests are you going to do?" Sam asked, trying to sound braver than he felt. "Non-invasive neural scanning," Zelthera replied. "We must confirm your aggression pathways are properly developed." Meanwhile, in the reception hall, Captain Gardner was barely containing her anger. "Ambassador Porter, this is completely unacceptable. They've taken children, into custody without permission." Porter nodded, his face grim. "I understand your outrage, Captain. I share it. But we need to resolve this diplomatically." The parents of the detained children were equally upset. Karen Miller was in tears while her husband Jack argued with one of the Zethrian officials. "You have no right to separate children from their parents." High official Traz Corbin seemed genuinely confused by the humans' reaction. "This is standard safety protocol for all species. Juvenile forms must be evaluated before being permitted. Free movement on any Zethrian facility." Lieutenant Dwayne Simmons leaned close to Captain Gardner. "Ma'am, I've been speaking with one of the lower-ranked Zethrians. There's something odd about their view of children." "What do you mean?" Alice asked. "From what I can gather, Zethrian young go through a violent phase in their development, something like temporary insanity. They assume all species are the same." Alice's eyes widened with understanding. "They think our children are dangerous?" "Yes, ma'am. They genuinely believe they're following proper safety procedures." Alice turned to Ambassador Porter. "Frank, we need to explain human child development to them right now." Porter nodded and addressed Traz Corbin. "High official, there has been a serious misunderstanding. Human children do not go through violent developmental phases. They pose no danger to your station or anyone on it." Traz Corbin's skin shifted to a doubtful purple color. "All species we have encountered have juvenile aggression phases. It is a biological constant." "Not for humans," Porter insisted. "Our children develop gradually, with full cognitive control. They are not dangerous." In the examination room, the children watched nervously as Zelthara prepared her equipment. Strange curved devices were placed around each of their beds. "What's that thing?" Olivia asked, pointing at a pulsing orb near her head. "Neural scanner," Zelthera replied. "It will map your aggression centers." "We don't have aggression centers," Sam said. "We're just normal kids." Zelthera's skin flickered with surprise. "All juvenile forms have hyperactive aggression centers. Before final neural development, this is universal truth." Noah, the younger of the twins, began to cry softly. "I want my mom and dad." Zelthera approached him, scanner in hand. "Fascinating. The emotional display is controlled. No sign of the rage impulse." Sam sat up straighter. "That's what I'm trying to tell you. We don't have rage impulses. Human. Children aren't dangerous." Zelthera studied him with large, curious eyes. "Impossible. All juvenile forms must be contained during development phase. This is known throughout the galaxy." "Maybe for Zethrians," Sam replied, "but not for humans. We're different." Back in the reception hall, Alice had convinced Traz Corbin to let the parents communicate with their children via a video screen. Karen and Jack Miller watched anxiously as a screen descended from the ceiling. The image flickered to life, showing the 5 children sitting on examination tables. They appeared frightened but unharmed. "Sam Lilly," Karen called out. "Are you okay?" Sam nodded, relief visible on his face at seeing his parents. "We're okay, Mom. They're doing some kind of scans, but they haven't hurt us." Jack turned to Traz Corbin. "You see? They're just scared children. Please return them to us." Another Zethrian entered the reception hall. This one older than the others, with skin that had faded to a pale blue. "What is happening here?" "She asked. Traz Corbin bowed slightly. "Elder Ithvara, we are following first contact protocols regarding juvenile containment." The elder Zethrian looked at the screen showing the human children, then at the upset human adults. Her skin shifted to a thoughtful shade of green. "These are not Zethrian juveniles, Traz Corbin. Different species have different developmental patterns. But the Kralvex incident, Voxmailer began, was 300 years ago, Ithvara interrupted. And one species does not represent all. Alice sensed an ally. Elder Ithvara, I'm Captain Alice Gardner. These children pose no threat to anyone. In human development, children are not violent or dangerous. The elder studied Alice carefully. You speak with conviction, Captain. Because it's true, Alice replied firmly. In our species, children need protection, not containment. Meanwhile, in the examination room, Zelthera was becoming increasingly puzzled. Her scans showed none of the expected neural patterns. The human children's brains showed developed impulse control and no signs of the rage centers common to Zethrian young. This cannot be, she muttered, checking her equipment. The readings must be wrong. Sam watched her curiously. What's wrong with your readings? You show full emotional control, Zelthera said. This is not possible in juvenile forms. It is for humans, Sam replied. We don't all act the same way. Some kids get angry sometimes, but we don't go crazy or anything. Lily added softly. My teacher says humans learn to control their feelings as they grow up. It's part of maturing. Zelthera's skin pulsed with rapid color changes as she processed this information. She turned to one of the guards. Bring me the comparative xenobiology archives. I must verify these readings. On the screen in the reception hall, the humans could see the Zethrian scientists' confusion. Ambassador Porter leaned toward Alice. I think they're starting to understand. Not fast enough, Alice replied. She turned to Ithvara. Elder, our children have been detained for nearly an hour now. This is causing serious diplomatic harm. Ithvara nodded slowly. I see the distress this causes. I will personally investigate the situation. She moved toward the exit. I will go to the evaluation chamber myself. Lieutenant Simmons approached Captain Gardner with a concerned expression. Captain, there's more to this than a simple misunderstanding. I've been reviewing station communications we've intercepted. They're running tests beyond simple security measures. What kind of tests? Alice asked, her concern deepening. They're treating our children like scientific specimens, Simmons replied grimly. This isn't just about security for them, it's a research opportunity. Alice's face hardened as she turned to Ambassador Porter. Frank, the diplomatic approach isn't working fast enough. It's time to make our position absolutely clear. News of the detained human children spread quickly across Earth. Emergency broadcasts interrupted regular programming with updates about the diplomatic crisis unfolding at the Zethrian space station. Families gathered around screens, watching anxiously as experts debated what this meant for humanity's first major alien alliance. In the White House Situation Room, the President of the United States frowned at the reports coming in. Get me direct communication with the Starlight Venture, she ordered, and put our nearest military vessels on alert. Back on the Zethrian space station, Captain Alice Gardner marched toward the main diplomatic chamber with Ambassador Porter, hurrying to keep up. Alice, we need to maintain diplomatic protocols, Porter warned, his voice low. A direct confrontation could make things worse. Diplomacy has had its chance, Alice replied without slowing down. It's been 3 hours, Frank. Those children are still being held and studied like lab rats. The doors to the diplomatic chamber slid open. Inside, High Commander Drexa Corvin had arrived to deal with the escalating situation. Taller than the bag, other Zethrians and with darker skin that rippled with complex patterns, he radiated authority. Captain Gardner, he said, his translator making his voice sound deep and resonant. I understand there is some dissatisfaction with our standard protocols. Alice stepped forward, ignoring the formal greeting gestures. High Commander, your people have detained 5 human children against their will and against the express wishes of their parents and their captain. This is completely unacceptable. Safety protocols must be followed, Drexus Corvin stated firmly. All juvenile forms must be. They are not dangerous, Alice interrupted, her patience finally snapping. Human children do not have the violent tendencies you keep insisting must exist. Your scientists have been running tests for hours now. Surely they've confirmed this. Before Drexa Corvin could respond, Alice pulled out a small device and activated it. A holographic display appeared showing intercepted data from the Zethrian research lab. Our communications team decoded this, she said. Your scientists aren't just checking for safety. They're running extensive tests, taking samples, and treating our children like research specimens. Alice stepped closer to the Zethrian commander, her voice rising with every word. You detained human children? Are you insane? The room went silent. What Alice didn't realize was that her translator had malfunctioned, broadcasting her words not just to those in the room, but throughout the station's communication system. Hundreds of Zethrians paused in their daily activities, hearing the human captain's outburst. Drex Corvin's skin darkened to a deep purple. Captain Gardner, your emotional display is inappropriate in formal proceedings. My emotional display is the appropriate human response to having our children taken, Alice shot back. In the examination room, Sam Miller had been watching the Zethrian scientists with growing curiosity. Despite his fear, his natural interest in alien technology had begun to overcome his anxiety. He noticed a control panel near his examination table that looked similar to human touch interfaces. While Zelthera was distracted by new orders coming, through her communication device, Sam quickly reached out and touched the panel. To his surprise, it responded to his fingers. What are you doing? Lily whispered from the next table. Trying something, Sam whispered back. Having grown up with technology, Sam had an intuitive understanding of how systems worked. He could see that the panel controlled the room's communication network. With a few quick swipes, Sam managed to access the station's internal video feeds. He found the one showing his parents and the human delegation in the diplomatic chamber. Another swipe, and he figured out how to reverse the connection. Look at this, he told the other children. I think I can broadcast us to them. In the diplomatic chamber, everyone froze as the large screen on the wall suddenly came to life. It showed the 5 human children in the examination room, looking directly at the camera. Mom, Dad, Captain Gardner, Sam called out. We can see you, Karen and Jack. Miller rushed forward. Sam, Lily, are you okay? They haven't hurt us, Sam replied. But they keep doing tests and scans. They really think we're going to go crazy or something. What happened next was unexpected. Sam's hack hadn't just connected to the diplomatic chamber. It had linked to multiple communication nodes throughout the station. Ordinary Zethrians going about their daily work could now see the human children on various screens and monitors. The Zethrians watched in confusion as the human children spoke calmly, showed no signs of violence, and clearly missed their parents. This contradicted everything they had been taught about juvenile development. Back in the examination room, Elder Ithvara had arrived and was watching the situation unfold with great interest. Unlike her colleagues, she had specialized in xenosociology, the study of alien cultures and behaviors. Fascinating, she said, watching Sam control the communication panel. Advanced problem-solving skills, emotional regulation, and technical aptitude. Nothing like our juveniles at all. Meanwhile, in Earth's solar system, 3 human military vessels changed course, now heading toward Zethrian space at maximum speed. The Interstellar Council had voted for a show of force while continuing diplomatic efforts. On the space station, Drex Corvin was furious about the security breach. Shut down that transmission, he ordered. Sir, one of his aides replied nervously. It's being broadcast throughout the station. Too many Zethrians are seeing it. The damage is already done, Ambassador Porter said. Your people are seeing the truth. Human children are not what you feared. Elder Ithvara entered the diplomatic chamber, her skin glowing with a calm blue light. High Commander, I must speak. I have observed these human juveniles myself. Draxacorvin acknowledged her with reluctance. The Elder's words carried weight among their people. These humans have a fundamentally different developmental pattern than our species, Ithvara continued. Their juveniles develop emotional control early and maintain it consistently. The research data is clear. They pose no threat. This contradicts our understanding of all species development, Draxacorvin insisted. Because our understanding is flawed, Ithvara replied. Based on limited experience and one traumatic encounter centuries ago, Alice looked from one alien to the other. What encounter? Ithvara turned to her. 300 years ago, we encountered another spacefaring species called the Kralvex. Their young were genuinely dangerous, biologically programmed for violence to ensure survival. First contact resulted in tragedy. So you assumed all species must be the same, Alice said, understanding dawning. It became cultural doctrine, Ithvara confirmed. But it was always a flawed assumption. A junior officer hurried into the room and approached Drex Corvin. Sir, public opinion is shifting. Many civilians are questioning the detention after seeing the broadcast, and we've detected 3 human military vessels entering our space. Tension in the room reached a new height. What had begun as a cultural misunderstanding now threatened to become an interspecies conflict. Alice stepped forward again. High Commander, we can still resolve this peacefully. Return the children to their parents, acknowledge the misunderstanding, and our ships will stand down. Drex Corvin's skin shifted through several colors as he considered the situation. Finally, he spoke. The juveniles will be released to their parents under observation. This situation requires reconsideration of our protocols. Relief washed over the human delegation. But as Drex Corvin gave orders to bring the children to the diplomatic chamber, Lieutenant Simmons received an alarming message on his communication device. Captain, he said quietly to Alice, we have a problem. A hardline security faction led by Voxmalar is attempting to move the children to a more secure facility. They don't agree with the commander's decision. Alice's brief moment of relief vanished. Where are they taking them? A high-security research facility deeper in the station, Simmons replied. They still believe there's something they're missing, some hidden danger the children pose. Alice turned to Ambassador Porter. We need to move. Now. Elder Ithvara's skin paled when she heard about Voxmalar's plan. This is most troubling. The security director has always been extreme in his views. Where exactly is this secure facility? Alice demanded. Level 6, Section 12, Ithvara replied. But access is restricted to security personnel. Alice turned to her team. Lieutenant Simmons, gather our security staff. Ambassador Porter, stay here with the parents and continue diplomatic efforts. The rest of you, with me. Captain Gardner, Drex Corvin said, his tone sharp. This is an internal Zethrian matter now. Your interference would be inappropriate. Those are human children? Alice replied firmly. That makes it very much our matter. Elder Ithvara stepped forward. High Commander, I request permission to accompany Captain Gardner. As xenosociology expert, my presence may help avoid further misunderstandings. Drex Corvin hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. Granted, but no human weapons are permitted. Alice didn't waste time arguing. Let's move. Meanwhile, in the examination room, Sam noticed a change in the guards' behavior. 2 new security officers had arrived, and they were speaking urgently with Zel Thara, who looked increasingly uncomfortable. New orders from Security Director Voxmalar, one guard said. The specimens are to be moved to the High Security Research Center immediately. Zelthara's skin flickered with uncertainty. But the commander ordered. The director believes the commander's judgment is compromised by diplomatic pressure. The guard interrupted. The juveniles require more thorough examination. Sam exchanged worried glances with the other children. Whatever was happening, it didn't sound good. He noticed the new guards had darker skin patterns, almost black mixed, with red suggesting heightened emotion. What's happening? Lily asked in a small voice. Before Sam could answer, the door slid open, and the guards began preparing transport pods, floating platforms with clear dome covers. These will take you to a new facility, one guard explained, his translator making. The words sound flat and emotionless. Ben Wilson, the oldest child after Sam, stood up from his examination table. We don't want to go to another facility. The commander said we could go back to our parents. The guard ignored him, activating the first pod. Enter the transport unit. Sam stepped in front of his sister protectively. We're not going anywhere, except back to our parents. The guard's skin darkened further. Resistance was not anticipated. Perhaps the reports of docility were inaccurate. He reached for a device on his belt. At that moment, Zelthara moved between the children and the guard. "This is not proper scientific protocol. My research is incomplete, and preliminary findings contradict our assumptions about these juveniles." "Your research has been reassigned, Scientist Zelthara," the guard replied coldly. In another part of the station, Alice, Lieutenant Simmons, 2 human security officers, and Elder Ithvara moved quickly through the corridors. They attracted curious stares from Zethrian civilians who had seen the broadcast of the human children. "There's a service lift ahead that will take us directly to level 6, Ithvara explained, leading them around a corner. As they approached the lift, 4 Zethrian security officers blocked their path. "Halt! This area is restricted." Alice stepped forward. "We're accompanying Elder Ithvara on official business." The lead guard looked uncertain. The presence of an elder complicated matters. "We have orders to prevent human access to secure areas." "I override those orders," Ithvara said, her voice carrying the weight of authority that came with her position. "These humans are under my direct supervision." The guards hesitated, then reluctantly stepped aside. Once in the lift, Alice turned to Ithvara. "Thank you. Why are you helping us?" The elder's skin shimmered with gentle blue patterns. "Because a great injustice is being committed based on fear and ignorance. My people are not cruel, Captain Gardner. Merely mistaken." The lift descended rapidly. Simmons checked his communication device. "Captain, I'm getting restricted signals from the examination room. Something's happening." Back in the examination room, tension was rising. Zelthara stood her ground, but the guards were becoming more insistent. "The director's orders are clear," the lead guard said. "Step aside, Scientist." Zelthara's skin showed her conflict, but she did not move. "I formally request review of this decision by the Science Council." "Review denied," a new voice said as the door slid open. Security Director Vox Malar entered, his tall frame radiating authority. "The juveniles will be transferred immediately." Sam noticed Zelthara's posture change. She was giving up. He knew they needed to act. Looking around quickly, he spotted the control panel he had used earlier. If he could just reach it again. "Now," Sam whispered to the other children. "Make a distraction." Noah and Olivia, the twins, understood immediately. They had played enough games to know what to do. Noah suddenly pointed at the ceiling and shouted, "What's that?" When the guards looked up reflexively, Olivia pretended to feel sick, doubling over and making dramatic noises. In the moment of confusion, Sam lunged for the control panel. His fingers flew across the surface, accessing the station's communication system again. This time, he didn't just broadcast their image. He sent out a distress message to appear on every screen throughout the station. "Help. Security taking. Human children to secret facility against commander's orders. Level 4. Examination room 7. Vox Malar realized what was happening and moved with surprising speed for his size. He grabbed Sam's arm and pulled him away from the panel. "Enough of this deception. Secure all juveniles in transport pods immediately." The guards moved in, but Lily suddenly darted between them, small and quick. She reached the door controls and pressed the emergency lock button she had noticed earlier, something all the human children had been trained to recognize on their own ship. Alarms blared as the room went into automatic lockdown, a safety feature designed to protect valuable research in case of station emergencies. "What have you done?" Vox Malar demanded, his skin now almost black with rage. "Bought us some time," Sam said, pulling free of the alien's grip and retreating to stand with the other children. The security director turned to his guards. "Override the lockdown. Now." Throughout the station, Sam's message appeared on screens everywhere. In the diplomatic chamber, Ambassador Porter and the parents saw it and immediately confronted High Commander Drexa Corvin. "Is this how the Zethrian Empire honors its agreements?" Porter demanded. "Your security director is defying your direct orders." Drex Corvin's skin showed his shock and anger. He activated his communication device. "Security Director Vox Malar, report immediately." There was no response. In the service lift, Alice and her team also saw the message on a small screen. "They're still on level 4, she said. "Ithvara, can you redirect this lift?" The elder quickly adjusted the controls, and the lift changed. Direction now heading upward. "This is most disturbing. Vox Malar is exceeding his authority." Lieutenant Simmons checked his weapon, a non-lethal stun device that had been permitted for the human security team. What's his motivation here? Why is he so determined to keep the children? Ithvara's skin darkened with what Alice had come to recognize as shame. The Kralvex incident I mentioned. Vox Malar's ancestor was the commander who failed to contain their juveniles. 17 Zethrians died. His family has advocated extreme caution with all alien species ever since. "So this is about family honor?" Alice asked incredulously. "And genuine belief in a threat," Ithvara added. "He truly believes he is protecting our people." The lift slowed and stopped at level 4. When the doors opened, they found the corridor filled with Zethrian civilians and science staff, all gathered outside Examination Room 7, where emergency lights flashed. Alice pushed through the crowd. "What's happening?" A Zethrian scientist turned to her. "The human juveniles activated emergency lockdown. Security Director Vox Malar is trapped inside with them, attempting to override." Alice felt a surge of pride mixed with fear. The children had shown remarkable resourcefulness, but now they were locked in a room with an increasingly desperate Zethrian security director. "How do we get in there?" she asked urgently. "Only a command-level override will work now," the scientist replied. Alice turned to Ithvara. "Can you do that?" The elder shook her head. "Only the High Commander has that authority." As if on cue, the crowd parted to reveal High Commander Drex Corvin approaching, his skin pulsing with angry red patterns. Behind him came Ambassador Porter and the parents of the 5 children. "It seems," Drex Corvin said grimly, "that we have a situation requiring immediate resolution." High Commander Drex Corvin stood before the locked examination room door, his tall figure commanding the attention of everyone present. The emergency lights cast alternating shadows across his face as he activated the door's communication system. "Security. Director Vox Malar, this is High Commander Drex Corvin. You will cease this unauthorized action immediately." Inside the room, Vox Malar looked up from the control panel he had been trying to override. His skin had darkened to an almost black shade with streaks of angry red. "Commander, with respect, these juveniles must be properly contained and studied. The safety of our station is not at risk," Drex Corvin interrupted. "You are defying direct orders." The 5 human children had gathered in the corner furthest from Vox Malar. Sam stood protectively in front of the others, watching the security director carefully. "He won't listen to reason," Sam called out, loud enough for the communication system to pick up his voice. "He thinks we're going to suddenly turn violent." Outside the room, Jack and Karen Miller pressed closer to the door. "Sam? Lily, are you hurt?" Karen called out, her voice tight with worry. "We're okay, Mom," Lily replied. "Just scared." Captain Alice Gardner stepped forward to stand beside Drex Corvin. "Commander, we need to resolve this now. Those children have been detained for over 5 hours." Drex Corvin nodded grimly. "I am preparing an override." He pressed his hand against a scanner beside the door and spoke a series of commands in the clicking Zethrian language. Inside the room, Vox Malar realized he was running out of time. His security training told him to complete his mission despite opposition. "The commander does not understand the risk," he told his guards. "Prepare the transport pods. We will move the juveniles as soon as the override completes." Sam noticed the guards moving toward the transport pods again. He needed to buy more time. "Why are you so afraid of us?" he asked Vox Malar directly. "Your own scientists say we're not dangerous." Vox Malar turned to face him. "Scientists can be wrong. They were wrong before, with the Kralvex. 17 Zethrians died because we underestimated the danger of their juveniles. But we're not Kralvex," Sam insisted. "We're humans. Different species have different biology. All juveniles are unstable," Vox Malar stated as if reciting a well-learned lesson. It is the way of nature. The door made a loud clicking sound as the override sequence began. Vox Malar tensed, his hand moving to the weapon at his belt. The guards followed his lead, readying their own devices. Sam felt the younger children press closer behind him. "Don't do this," he said to Vox Malar. "You'll ruin any chance of friendship between our species." Outside, the override sequence continued, lights changing from red to yellow as the system worked through security protocols. The crowd of Zethrians had grown larger, with station personnel and civilians gathered to watch the drama unfold. Elder Ithvara stepped forward and placed a hand on Drexacorvin's arm. "Commander, may I suggest a different approach? Before the door opens?" Drexacorvin paused, looking at the elder with respect. "Speak, Elder." "Allow the young human female to approach," Ithvara said, pointing to Lily Miller. "I believe she may demonstrate what we need to see more clearly than any of us." Alice looked confused. "What do you mean?" "Trust me, Captain," Ithvara said softly. "There is a way to resolve this that honors both our cultures." The commander considered for a moment, then nodded. He pressed the communication button again. "Security Director, before this door opens, I order you to allow the youngest human juvenile to approach the communication panel. We wish to speak with her directly." Inside, Vox Malar frowned. "This is unnecessary, Commander." "It is a direct order," Drexacorvin replied, his tone leaving no room for argument. Vox Malar reluctantly stepped away from the communication panel. "Approach," he told Lily. "Slowly." Sam squeezed his sister's hand. "It's okay, Lily. Just talk to them." Lily nodded bravely and walked to the panel. At 10 years old, she barely reached it, having to stand on her tiptoes to see the screen where Commander Drexacorvin's face appeared. "Hello," she said in a small but clear voice. "Greetings, young human," Drexacorvin replied, his translator softening his tone. "I wish to ask you some questions." "Okay," Lily agreed. "Are you afraid right now?" the commander asked. Lily nodded. "Yes. The guards have scary weapons, and Mr. Vox Malar is very angry. We just want to go back to our parents." "Yet you speak clearly and show no signs of the aggression that Vox Malar fears. Why is that?" Lily looked confused by the question. "Because humans don't work that way. My teacher says humans learn to control their feelings as they grow up. Even when we're little, we know right from wrong." "And if you were very angry? What would you do?" Lily thought for a moment. "I might cry, or tell someone I'm upset. My mom says it's okay to feel angry, but not okay to hurt people." The sincerity in her voice and the simplicity of her answer seemed to affect everyone who heard it. Outside the room, many of the Zethrians watching were displaying colors of surprise and reconsideration on their skin. The commander's expression changed subtly. "Young human, would you approach Security Director Vox Malar now?" Vox Malar stiffened. "Commander, I must protest." "Silence," Drexacorvin ordered. "Let us see what happens." Lily looked uncertainly at Vox Malar, who stood rigid with his skin almost black. She glanced back at her brother, who nodded encouragingly despite his own fear. Taking a deep breath, Lily walked slowly toward the imposing Zethrian Security Director. The room fell completely silent as she stopped in front of him, looking up at a being nearly 3 times her height. "Why are you so scared of us?" she asked simply. "We didn't do anything wrong." Vox Malar looked down at the small human child. His training and family history told him she was a threat, yet everything he observed contradicted this. No Zethrian juvenile could stand so calmly or speak so reasonably. "The Kralvex juveniles appeared harmless too," he said, but his voice held less conviction. "I don't know who they are," Lily replied. "But I'm just me. I like drawing pictures and learning about space. I was excited to meet aliens. I didn't think you'd lock us up." Something changed in Vox Malar's posture. His skin began to shift from black to a deep purple, then blue, the color of uncertainty. Outside, Elder Ithvara nodded with satisfaction. "The demonstration is working. The security director is being forced to confront the evidence of his own senses over his preconceptions. The door's override sequence completed with a final tone, and the locks disengaged. As the door slid open, the parents rushed in first, hurrying to their children. Karen Miller scooped Lily up in her arms while Jack embraced Sam. Captain Gardner and Commander Drexa Corvin entered next, followed by Elder Ithvara. The security team remained outside, but ready. Vox Mailer stood rigid, his hand still on his weapon but not drawing it. Commander, I was following established security protocols. Based on false assumptions, Drex Corvin replied. Look at these. Human juveniles, Director. Observe their behavior. Compare it to what you know of our own young. The evidence is before you. Vox Malar looked at the human families, the children showing no aggression, only relief at being reunited with their parents. His skin slowly shifted to a lighter blue as the reality of what he was seeing overcame years of training and belief. He began, then stopped. The protocol may require revision. Elder Ithvara stepped forward. For too long we have based our understanding of all species on our own biology and one traumatic encounter. This has clouded our perspective and limited our growth as a spacefaring civilization. Drex Corvin nodded. I am ordering a complete review of our first contact protocols, effective immediately. He turned to Captain Gardner. Captain, on behalf of the Zethrian Empire, I extend our formal apology for this incident. Alice nodded, relief evident on her face. Apology accepted, Commander. I believe we can still build a positive relationship between our peoples. The humans were escorted back to the diplomatic section of the station. News of the resolution spread quickly throughout both the station and back to Earth, where tensions began to ease. 2 days later, as the human delegation prepared to depart, a surprising event occurred. A small group of young Zethrians, adolescents by their standards, approached the docking area where the human children were waiting to board. Wish to say farewell, the leader of the young Zethrians said, and to thank you for helping our elders see beyond old fears. Sam smiled. That's what exploring space should be about, right? Learning new things and meeting different people. The young Zethrian's skin glowed with bright patterns of agreement. Perhaps one day I might visit your world? That would be awesome, Sam replied, extending his hand in the human gesture of friendship. As the Starlight Venture departed from the station, Captain Gardner stood on the bridge, watching the Zethrian structure recede in the view screen. It wasn't the smooth first contact we hoped for, Ambassador Porter commented, standing beside her. No, Alice agreed, but maybe it was the one we needed. Sometimes understanding only comes after misunderstanding. The ship accelerated toward the stars, carrying with it the beginnings of a new relationship between two very different peoples, one that had started with outrage but ended with hope.